Some places aren't meant to be explored. Not because they're hard to find, but because they don't want you there. Lands where the air itself can kill you. Abandoned towns that still whisper with unfinished business. And cursed locations where people check in, but never check out. These aren't just spooky stories. These are real-life no-go zones where even brave, experienced adventurers second-guess their life choices. Well, sure, you can Google them from the comfort of your couch. But if you're thinking to test your luck and visit, let's just say, some tickets are one way. From an island where infected monkeys want to share their love to a bottomless lake that won't let go of its victims, let's take a closer look at 15 dark places that are too dangerous to explore. Let's start off this list with number 15, Wittenoom. Once a thriving mining town, Wittenoom, Australia, is now a ghost town in the worst possible way. This isn't your typical abandoned settlement. This place is so toxic that the government erased it from maps and road signs to keep people away. The entire town was built on an asbestos mine, and for decades, workers unknowingly inhaled deadly asbestos fibers. The result? Thousands of deaths from mesothelioma and lung diseases, making Wittenoom one of the most contaminated places on Earth. By the late 1970s, the government shut it down, forcing residents to leave, but a few stubborn souls refused to go, even as authorities cut off power, water, and services. Today, Wittenoom is sealed off and patrolled to prevent visitors from sneaking in. Those who ignore the warnings risk breathing in lethal dust that still lingers in the air. This hauntingly hazardous site has even earned the infamous title of Australia's Chernobyl. Number 14, the Bolton Strid. At first glance, the Bolton Strid in England looks like a peaceful, narrow stream just like any other. But step too close and you'll never be seen again. This deceptively calm-looking creek is actually one of the deadliest bodies of water in the world. Just a few feet wide, the Strid is a collapsed section of the River Wharfe, where water flows not horizontally, but vertically, into deep, twisting underwater tunnels. Anyone who falls in gets pulled straight down into unseen caves and whirlpools, and not a single person who has fallen in has ever survived. Divers, rescue teams, and researchers have tried to explore its depths, but the powerful currents make it impossible to map. Locals say the Strid is a living thing, swallowing anything that dares touch it. It's one of the few places on Earth where falling into water is a guaranteed death sentence. Number 13, Bottomless Lakes. Some lakes are deep. Then there are the Bottomless Lakes of New Mexico, which seem to have no end at all. While we personally don't know how deep it is not normal. We just say that. Located in Lee County, New Mexico, these lakes aren't actually bottomless, but they might as well be. Nobody knows how deep they go, because they feed into underground rivers and cavern systems that stretch for miles. Here's where it gets eerie. Objects and bodies that sink into these waters don't always stay put. Over the years, people have thrown objects into one lake, only for them to resurface miles away in a completely different location. In some cases, bodies of drowned swimmers have been found in places that don't even connect to the lakes. Many of the most dangerous lakes have been sealed off, but the mystery remains. Where do they lead? And how many hidden tunnels remain unexplored beneath the desert? Number 12, El Caminito del Rey. They call it El Caminito del Rey, but most people know it as the world's deadliest walkway. We mean, just look at that. Built along the El Chorro Gorge in Spain in the early 1900s, this narrow pathway was originally designed for workers to cross between hydroelectric plants. But after decades of decay, the walkway became a crumbling death trap, with huge sections missing, rusting beams, and a sheer 330-foot drop below. Despite 5 confirmed deaths, thrill-seekers continued to risk their lives walking the path, clinging to the remains of what was once a bridge. In 2001, authorities finally shut it down. only to reopen it in 2015, fully restored, but still just as terrifying. Even with modern safety features, it remains one of the most extreme hikes in the world. And let's be real, any place once called the world's most dangerous trail probably isn't somewhere you want to slip. If you want to visit a safe place, then Jazirat al-Hamra is perfect. Number 11. Morgan Island. In South Carolina, there's an island overrun with thousands of monkeys, and no humans are allowed to set foot there. Morgan Island, also known as Monkey Island, is home to over 3,500 rhesus monkeys, and here's the super unsettling part. They were brought there for scientific research. These primates were originally from Puerto Rico, but after an outbreak of herpes B, a virus deadly to humans, they were relocated to the isolated island. Now, the monkeys roam freely, and Morgan Island has become a government-run primate research site. While the public is banned, researchers visit regularly to study the population, making it one of the few places in the U.S. where nature is completely off-limits to civilians. Even from the water, you can hear the howls and screeches of the monkeys echoing through the trees. And if that's not unsettling enough, locals say boats that get too close get greeted by hundreds of staring eyes. Number 10. Kuldhara, Rajasthan. Something strange happened in Kuldhara over 200 years ago. An entire village disappeared overnight, leaving behind only abandoned homes and unanswered questions. Well, yup, you've heard that correctly. The Paliwal Brahmins, who had lived there for centuries, suddenly vanished without a trace. There were no signs of violence, no mass graves, and no one saw them leave. According to legend, before they left, they cursed the land, ensuring that no one would ever be able to live there again. To this day, no one has. Kuldhara remains completely abandoned, with crumbling houses and an eerie silence that makes it one of India's most haunted places. Visitors report strange whispers, shadowy figures, and an overwhelming feeling of unease. The government now protects it as a heritage site, but entry is strictly forbidden after sunset. Well, whatever happened that night, one thing is clear. This village was never meant to be resettled. Number 9. Houska Castle. Most castles are built for defense, power, or royalty. It's their main purpose. But Houska Castle in the Czech Republic? Well, it was built for one purpose only, to keep something inside. Sitting atop a mysterious bottomless pit, this castle has no strategic location, no kitchens, no water supply, and no evidence it was ever meant to house people. It exists solely to seal the gaping hole beneath it, a hole that, according to legend, is a gateway to hell itself. When construction began, officials offered death row prisoners a full pardon if they agreed to be lowered into the pit first. The first man went down and began screaming almost immediately. When they pulled him back up, his hair had turned white, his face wrinkled with age. He died days later, rambling about inhuman creatures crawling in the darkness below. To this day, the castle remains one of the most feared locations in Europe. If hell has an entrance, let's be honest, this might be it. Number 8. Trolltunga. Trolltunga, or Troll's Tongue, is one of the most breathtaking yet dangerous natural formations on Earth. A thin, jagged rock ledge juts out 2,300 feet above Lake Ringadalsvatn, offering daredevils the ultimate adrenaline-fueled selfie spot. There are no railings, no barriers, and no second chances. One wrong step, and you plummet into nothingness. Still, wanna go there. The hike itself is a grueling 12-hour trek through unpredictable weather, where fog rolls in without warning, turning the path into a blind walk of death. Rescue teams are constantly called in for stranded hikers, and fatal accidents have happened. Despite the risks, thrill seekers love to push their luck, teetering on the edge for that one perfect photo. But Trolltunga doesn't forgive mistakes, because at this height, gravity always wins. If you want to visit this heaven, well, bear a few things in your brain. Check weather forecasts, carry good hiking gear, and stay on marked trails. Number 7. The Darien Gap. If you think a missing highway section is just an inconvenience, well, you've never heard of the Darien Gap. This 100-mile break in the Pan-American Highway between Panama and Colombia is one of the most lawless and hostile places on Earth. There is no infrastructure, no roads, no rules, and no police. The Darien Gap is a swampy, disease-ridden jungle, ruled not by governments, but by paramilitary groups, drug cartels, and armed smugglers. Locals live in isolated pockets, and desperate migrants attempt to cross despite the near certainty of death. Flooded rainforests, venomous wildlife, and territories controlled by criminals make it one of the most impassable regions on the planet. Those who venture in without knowledge or protection simply disappear. It's not just nature that'll kill you here, it's the people who don't want you to leave. Number 6. Ramree Island. During World War II, Ramree Island off Myanmar became the site of one of the most nightmarish mass deaths in history. Not from battle, but from nature itself. As British forces drove Japanese troops into the island's mangrove swamps, what followed was a horror beyond imagination. The dark, stagnant waters were home to thousands of saltwater crocodiles, the largest and most aggressive reptile species on Earth. Survivors later described the swamp as a living nightmare. Gunfire was replaced by agonizing screams as crocodiles dragged soldiers under one by one. Out of 500 to 1,000 Japanese soldiers, only 20 were ever found alive. Some historians dispute the scale of the crocodile massacre, but the Guinness Book of World Records still lists it as the deadliest animal attack on humans ever recorded. Whether exaggerated or not, one thing is 1,000% clear: Ramree Island is no place for the faint of heart. Number 5. The Drakensberg Grand Traverse. The Drakensberg Grand Traverse isn't just a pretty hike, it's a 137-mile gauntlet across one of Africa's most unforgiving mountain ranges. Known as the Dragon Mountains, these jagged peaks are as deadly as they are beautiful. To complete the trek, hikers must climb 2 vertical chain ladders, navigate 30 ridges, and gain 3,280 feet, 1,000 meters, in elevation daily. The thin air, extreme temperatures, and unpredictable storms turn this multi-day journey into a battle of endurance. Official fatality records stopped in 1985, but people still vanish here every year. The altitude sickness, hidden cliffs, and exhaustion claim lives without mercy. There are no marked trails, no rescue stations, and no second chances. Those who survive call it the experience of a lifetime, but only if they make it back. This is not a hike. It's a fight against the mountain itself. Number 4. Fagradalsfjall. In March 2021, after 6,000 years of silence, Fagradalsfjall erupted, turning Iceland's Reykjanes Peninsula into a lava-spewing spectacle. Unlike most eruptions, this one was slow and mesmerizing, drawing thousands of spectators eager to see Earth's raw power in action. But make no mistake, this volcano is not a tourist attraction. Beneath its stunning lava rivers and glowing craters, hidden dangers lurk. The ground is unstable, with lava tubes collapsing without warning. Worse still, the winds shift unpredictably, blowing toxic sulfur dioxide and carbon monoxide toward bystanders, leading to deadly exposure. Icelandic authorities constantly issue warnings, yet tourists still ignore them, inching closer for the perfect photo. While no fatalities have been recorded yet, it's only a matter of time before someone underestimates the most powerful force on the planet, nature itself. At Fagradalsfjall, the line between awe-inspiring and fatal is razor-thin. Number 3. Black Mountain. Rising out of Queensland, Australia, Black Mountain isn't just a mountain, It's a chaotic heap of giant granite boulders, stacked like nature's version of a crumbling ruin. These massive rocks shift, collapse, and reshape the labyrinth within, making the mountain impossible to map. The real mystery? People go in, but they don't come out. The few who have dared to explore the caves have vanished without a trace. The maze-like gaps between the boulders form an eerie network of tunnels, some say leading deeper than we can imagine. Locals believe the mountain is cursed, and the wind howling through the gaps makes it moan like a living thing. If that's not unsettling enough, radio and TV signals die near the mountain, adding to its isolation. Authorities have banned visitors, and maybe that's for the best, because whatever lurks in Black Mountain doesn't let its secrets go easily. All right, guys, now, let's talk about something untouched. Number 2. Vale do Javari. In the depths of the Brazilian Amazon, hidden away from the eye's modern world and Donald Trump, lies Vale do Javari, one of the largest territories of uncontacted indigenous tribes on the planet Earth. Around 2,000 people live here, completely cut off from the outside world, surviving as they have for thousands of years. These tribes are protected by the Brazilian government, and any outside contact is strictly forbidden. Why? Because past encounters have led to tragedy. Outsiders bring diseases the tribes have no immunity to, and even small interactions can wipe out entire populations. However, illegal loggers, miners, and drug traffickers constantly threaten the region. Some tribes have responded by defending their land with deadly force, and if you step into Vale do Javari, you may not come back out. This isn't just a forbidden place. It's one of the few places left on Earth where modern civilization simply isn't welcome. Number 1. The Red Zones. In northern France, there are places where the land itself is so deadly that no human can ever live there again. These areas, known as the Red Zones, or Zones Rouges, are ghost lands left behind by World War I, where even today, the soil is too toxic for life to return. Scattered with unexploded bombs, poisonous gas shells, and buried human remains, the Red Zones are sealed off forever. Some sections are so contaminated with lead, arsenic, and chlorine gas that 99% of plant life still dies on contact. Even after over a century, attempts to clean the land have failed. It's simply too dangerous to touch. Entire villages were abandoned, never to be resettled. Some places were so destroyed that they were removed from maps altogether. The war ended, but these lands will remain dead zones for centuries, a permanent scar left behind by history's bloodiest conflict. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.